Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about a very important ruling in the E Jean Carroll defamation case against Donald Trump. All right, to set the stage a little bit, because it's kind of confusing, this is actually the initial defamation claim. This is for the words he used when he was president, where he comes out on the lawn and says, it's all a lie. She's not my type, disparages her, and the like. That was what first prompted the defamation suit. Remember, this had happened in 1991, so she wasn't suing for the assault because too much time had passed, but she said in calling her a liar, he had defamed her. Then New York passed a law letting people go back and reopen long-standing, long since past sexual assault suits. And moreover, Trump obliged by just defaming her after he had left office. So we had the so-called E. Jean Carroll 1 case, except it's really E. Jean Carroll 2 chronologically, where Carroll won substantial damages. And that was for the defamation when he was no longer president, as well as the sexual assault under the 1991 law. Okay, but there's still been this E. Jean Carroll first case that's been kicking around, and in particular, that's made a kind of route through the federal courts to determine, does Trump have executive privilege? And I won't detail its whole roundabout way, but it went through different courts than the D.C. court because they said, let's decide this under D.C. law. And then the D.C. court said, we need to know more. Anyway, it all came back to the New York judge, Lewis Kaplan, to basically decide for himself. And he found that there is no executive privilege. So that sets up, after several years, the trial in the very first case for the remarks he made while defaming, that allegedly defamed her while he was president after the accusations first surfaced. Okay, so that's what's going to trial. And Kaplan, we don't focus on it so much when we're looking at this whole kind of crazy brouhaha over scheduling many different cases. But this is also very much on the menu. And Kaplan has said, we're going in January 2024, and it's not going to change. So he's firm about it. I would say of all the judges, he's been really the firmest, and I got to say even the most antagonistic toward Trump. I don't think he's flirted yet with a reversible error, but it's pretty clear what he thinks about the relative virtue of the parties before him, E. Jean Carroll and Donald Trump. Okay, so we're going to the new case. Now the question, so the case is, you defamed me. What does she have to prove? That he lied about knowingly, not just negligently, but he lied, among other things, when he said she had lied. He really knew that this had happened. And E. Jean Carroll said, look, we already decided this in the other case. The jury really thought about, did he know that he was lying? And that's an element of defamation. So there is a doctrine in the law known as collateral estoppel or issue preclusion. But it basically says when two parties have been together and have already duked it out over a particular issue, and it's been decided, that's conclusive, at least as between these two parties. So E. Jean Carroll says we don't have to go through the whole decision about whether he defamed me. He did, because that's already been decided. That's the issue that came before Judge Kaplan, in which he decided this morning, and he held for E. Jean Carroll. So the holding is, yep, liability is already established. We're not going to ask another jury to decide whether he defamed her. He did. We're just instead going to move to a damages trial. And by the way, what would already have been a pretty imposing or gargantuan damages case against Trump. It gets even worse when the first thing the jury is told is, we already know he defamed her. You don't even have to think about that. He's guilty with a bullet, as it were. Okay. So anyway, Carroll says, has this been decided already? And here's the legal standard. And you can think about it, right? If two other parties have done the same issue, it doesn't seem really fair to hold a third party to it. But on the other hand, when 4 specific conditions obtain, it seems fair, and that is the law. And here's what they are. The issues in both proceedings are identical. This is the same. The liability for defamation for these, basic comments about how she was lying. The issue was actually litigated and decided, not just defaulted or whatever. So the parties fought it out. There was a full and fair opportunity to litigate in the prior proceeding. Trump had all the chance he needed to vigorously contest liability, and the issue was necessary to support a valid and final judgment on the merits. It's another way of saying we really know it happened. If it was something the jury maybe didn't decide, then maybe we can't take it as decided. But here, all 4 of these things are met. So I agree, says Judge Kaplan, with E. Jean Carroll. Liability is decided, so when we go to trial and pick a jury in January, it'll just be how much should the damages be against Donald Trump. There are real issues about, especially after the other case, how much has she been harmed? She says, quite a bit, and cites all kinds of professional and personal damage, as a result. That you can fight about that, but there's also the possibility of punitive damages and a jury that figures to go once they hear that it's already liability has been established, and the nature of it, the sort of nasty, callous, dispensing of a woman's accusation that this guy sexually raped me in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room. I think you'll find a jury inclined to really give some, really whomp them for some pretty serious damages, including punitive damages. So that's where things stand. January, which Kaplan says is going forward, and damages only. They'll just say, don't even think about liability, and the testimony will be all about how much she was harmed and potentially punitive damages as well. Could be, it's not a criminal case, but it's a really serious one nonetheless, both, reputation wise for Trump, a liar, a callous jerk, talking this way about a woman he sexually assaulted, and a pretty big price tag. So this, in the overall constellation of cases going against Trump, this one should not be overlooked. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.